1, 2, 3, funky.
My darling, I love you, 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 I love you.
What's up and welcome back to my channel. I'm excited because we're about to discuss a movie that is extremely important to me, important to cinema, important to black cinema, important to black folk, and all of the things. Obviously, if you've clicked this video, you know what I'm talking about. We're going to discuss none other than The Best Man. When I say The Best Man is a cinematography masterpiece, I feel like that's an understatement because it is such a beautiful, complex, and layered movie. It's interesting because when I was younger, I remember liking it for, you know, the chaotic aspects and whatnot, but at the same time not necessarily understanding how beautiful of a movie it is. I want to start off first with my favorite quote, that is, if I do not define myself for myself, I will be crunched into other people's fantasies for me and eaten alive. It's a quote by none other than the amazing Audre Lorde. So saying that to say, just the fact that that quote was in the movie speaks volumes about how beautiful the movie is and how amazing Malcolm D. Lee, he is the director, I believe writer, and all of the things of the film. So shout out to him for being so amazing. It's one scene that I wanted to touch on first, and that is the entry of Lance Sullivan, who is Morris Chestnut's character. To this day, I will always say that his entry is one of the most exciting entries into a film for me ever. The song Is What You Want, Boy, and then just him entering and just being so beautiful, attractive, chocolate, sexy, all of the things that we all know Morris Chestnut to be. His smile is amazing, and yeah, that always stayed in my mind as it pertains to the movie. So we got to pull out the notes. If you know, you know. I always give this disclaimer that I am a note taker, okay? So yes, it's a layered film. One of the main things is friendship. Obviously, you have a group of college friends that are reconnecting on account of one of their friends, or two of their friends actually, getting married. So that's Lance and Mia, okay? Lance was a college football player turned professional football player. We got Harper Stewart, who is the writer friend, and ultimately he is the best man. Then we have Q Quentin, who's the friend that's kind of artsy fartsy, still figuring his life out even at his big age. And then we have Murch, who is the sweet, kind of chill, laid back friend. And I love the fact that with these four guys, there are friendships within their friendship, and that tends to happen. Harper and Lance are best friends. Q and Murch are best friends, and I thought that was extremely realistic. Then we have the ladies, Jordan Armstrong, played by the Nia Long, and then we have Mia, who is played by Monica Calhoun. So yes, love them. We also have Shelby. I think her name is Melissa DeLuca, and she's the irritating girlfriend of Murch. So yes, and then Harper Stewart, played by Tay Diggs. Q is played by Terrence Howard, and then Murch, I don't know his name in real life, so we're gonna put that on the screen for you as well. The whole plot is about Harper writing this book about his college experiences with these friends. So when they come together for Mia and Lance's wedding, a lot of things start getting exposed because some of them have read the book. What is interesting to me is the accountability aspect. So what I mean by that is the fact that Harper put in his book that he had relations with his best friend's wife. So he changes their names, but it is, implied. And obviously a lot of them found out that oh, okay, Harper and Mia actually had an inappropriate relationship at one point or another. And he kind of saw it as excusable because Lance would cheat on Mia a lot when they were in college. So I put on here, holding friends accountable and betrayal was a main thing to me, because instead of cheating with your friend's wife, why didn't you just tell him bro, stop cheating? You know what I mean? Do Mia right, as opposed to feeling obliged to her because you introduced her to him. And so now you almost felt like it was up to you to please her because he was hurting her. I thought that was very human, but very twisted at the same time. And obviously Harper has a lot of work to do in the character and integrity department. And Yeah, so I put holding friends accountable. I put male and female platonic relationships. That was important to me because Jordan and Harper has this relationship that I think is also very relatable to a lot of friendship groups, where they are like almost best friends, male and female best friends, but they kind of have an attraction to one another. And there have been moments, in particular with the Stevie Wonder song playing in the background, where they almost were, oh, excuse me, where they kissed and it almost turned physical, but it didn't because the record skipped. But the point that I'm making about that is that those feelings never died, because even at their big age, and with Harper being in a committed relationship, he was still willing to risk it all in order to sleep with Jordan at some point or another. So it made me think about how, like, we question this a lot, and you may see it on social media. Can males and females really have platonic relationships with one another? You know, like, or does it imply, if you and a male are close to one another, that there is some sort of attraction, and that if that person was to have a relationship with another person of the opposite sex, would you all cross any boundaries, or maybe have to like cut off your friendship in order to be considerate of that person's mate? So that's the question that like stood out to me when watching and thinking about The Best Man, because obviously Jordan and Harper abuse that. So yeah, I'm interested in knowing if you think that males and females can have innocent platonic relationships, which is honestly what a platonic relationship is supposed to be anyway. I like to say that I don't think so. I don't think, at least at that level of closeness. Like, him and Jordan were extremely close. And yeah, I don't think that it's possible, because it's like, seeing one another on and off, maybe at like events or big celebrations, is one thing, but to be like best friends where we text each other and call each other and I'm in a relationship, I don't agree with that. Yeah, I think that there was a void between Harper and Robin on account of him still having these feelings for Jordan and being like best friends with her, and then friends with Mia, and friends with all of the ladies. And I think that speaks volumes about relationships in general, and how sometimes if you still cultivate those friendships, or nurture those friendships while you're in a relationship, some of the emotional aspect of your relationship may be missing, because there may be things that you should be confiding in your partner with, but instead you're confiding in your best friend. And that can get tricky, especially depending on the person. Different strokes for different folks, but for me, I don't like that. Cheating and learning from it while damaging another. So I put Lance and Harper on here, their morals, ethics, and character. And then obviously Q is looked at as like a playboy, but we're gonna dig deeper into him, because for me, he is like the hero of the story, and I'll explain more why. I'll explain why later. Lance. So obviously Lance met Mia through Harper. He was attracted to her. He felt like she was a beautiful girl. She was like a clean-cut, sweet girl, virginal. And he started dating her while being a football player. At the same time, he was cheating on her consistently. We'll go to Harp, we'll go to God to pray about it and to try to make things right. And it was just interesting to me, because we often hear this story, and for a lot of people, it's considered normal that men cheat. And I'm gonna say specifically in our culture. I was even watching a comedian, and he was pretty much saying that like he's becoming so black because he hang around with a lot of black people, and he was like, I'm becoming so black that I got a wife and I got a side piece. And I was like, dang, wow, that's funny. It's like the truth kind of hurts sometimes. It stung me a little bit. And I'd like to actually challenge us to work on that. That's very, and not saying that other cultures and races and whatnot don't cheat on their spouses, but the fact that that's a stereotype that is specific to us, I have a problem with that. I'm not looking at everybody else, I'm looking at us, and that's something that we obviously need to do better with. And with friendships, in particular, I would say male friendships, I've been interested and fascinated by the fact that I don't think that males hold their friends accountable as it pertains to cheating and stuff like that. It's like, if you know your friend got a good girl, if you've been around her and you've seen their vibe or whatever, she loves him, why aren't you emphasizing to him, like, bro, slow down, you're doing too much? While I understand the whole concept of like, that ain't my business, that's his business, and I'm gonna be here to support my friend as opposed to judging them, I think that there's much to be said about men that actually watch and speculate or instigate their friends cheating, as opposed to like telling them, you look crazy, you need to stop, lying, cheating, and all of these things. That's not like manly. honestly. It's cowardly. So let's discuss Harp and the fact that he was going to cheat with Jordan while Robin was away, but then at the same time needed her when she came into town for the wedding. So it's like you intended to cheat on me with your college crush slash bestie, and then you still needed me to come and get you out of a jam. That is another common situation that I'm not a fan of, just because it's like at some point one person is being used. And I do feel like Robin was being used to assist Harper when he was down, but when you was up, you had your book, Oprah talking about it, all of the people talking about it. Before your best friend found out that you slept with his wife, you was all good, you weren't thinking about me. In fact, you were gonna cheat on me. Now you need me, and I don't like that. Just simply put, I don't have to deep dive into that because I think that is very common, but it's like I don't like that, and we got to do better. God was heavily present in this film, and I love that. Very relatable, true to us. And I like that although Lance had his flaws, something that was extremely beautiful about him was his humility towards God. And even his ability to say, like, I did Mia so wrong that if I ever found out that she cheated on me, I wouldn't even question her about it. I thought that was beautiful as well. And I love that. I'm smirking right now because I'm thinking about the scene with Quentin and you. Let's dive deep into Q, because for me, he is the unexpected hero. I am real big, especially right now, on truth tellers and just being enamored by people that don't run away from the truth, but that actually acknowledge it and that speak truth to power and that just are truthful within who they are as beings. And you know, while some conversations and topics and situations may be uncomfortable, it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. And I think a lot of times the truth is uncomfortable, especially for liars. And one thing about Q is that he was not a liar whatsoever. And I love that. When I got older, I'm like, he is my favorite character in this movie. Like, he was the truth teller. He was flawed, but he still wore his flaws on his sleeves. And I believe him and Harper in comparison are completely different. Harper comes off, he presents, he's this writer, he's this intellectual, so smart, you know, still he has his woman, and you know, he introduced his best friend to the woman he's about to marry, but up under that was a lot of flawed behavior. He's a cheater, he's a liar, he is honestly, to a certain degree, getting money off the backs of his friends. To a certain degree. I don't want to be too like technical about him writing this book that has his friends involved, because it is still his life story, but you know, he's exposing certain secrets and things that didn't necessarily need to be exposed, depending on how you look at it. So when I compare Harper, and then we have Q right here, who is this like musician slash substitute teacher, so like he does a lot of different things and doesn't necessarily have his life together in comparison to his friends. At the same time though, he is the person that is truthful about who he is. He loves dating a lot of different women, sleeping around and stuff like that. He loves the arts and all of the things, but at the same time, it's like he's extremely truthful. On the surface, when you compare the two, Harper seems like a stand-up guy, you know, because it's like, oh, he got his stuff together, girl. He's a writer. He's this, he's that. Q is like, oh, he's artsy. He's a hoe, you know, sleeping around and all of these things. But for me, especially now, I'm like, wow, I would much rather be in a company of a Q than a Harper, because at least Q knows who he is and he's gonna provide the truth to you. It's like, look, I'm dating her, and I'm dating her. So are you good or not? And if you're not, then it's like, you know, the hell with it. Whereas Harper, it's like, oh, I want to be married, or honestly, he was actually not trying to get married initially. So I won't say that. He didn't want to get married, but it's like, oh, I'm a relationship type of guy. I'm a writer and I'm all of these things. But deep down, it's like, you slept with your best friend's wife. Not only that, you about to cheat on a woman that has been good to you. So it's like, are you a good person? I don't think you're a good person, because it almost seems like you don't even understand yourself and you don't wear your truths on your sleeves. So like I said, that's why Q's character is phenomenal to me. One scene in particular that is so intense, and I like to consider it the climax of this movie, is when all of the guys are together at the hotel and they're discussing whether or not Mia ever had sexual relations with another guy besides Lance, because from what he knows, she's only had sex with him because when he met her, she was a virgin. but everybody else knows from reading the book, which Lance has not read yet. The book is called Unfinished Business, by the way. What everybody else knows that Lance doesn't know is that Harper actually slept with Mia. So Mia has had more than one sexual partner, and in fact, her second sexual partner is your best friend, right? So this scene is intense because we can tell as the audience that there's some like underlying secrets and conversations and insiders going on, but Lance is not aware of them. So he has a really intense moment with Q, who's like poking the bear in a very like slick way. And I would usually think that somebody like Q is like a troublemaker, problem starter, and you know, at the depths, at the core of him, I think he's just extremely truthful and didn't necessarily know how to communicate that, especially with somebody like a Harp who is judging him, judging everybody else, but it's like your shit just didn't hit the fan yet. And he told him that at one point in the movie, which I loved. And I thought that that was really relatable with friendship groups. Like sometimes it gets a little intense, especially when we have to like have these uncomfortable conversations that people aren't willing to have yet, and they executed that perfectly. Yeah, I said he's confident in spite of his imperfections and all of the things. I also wanted to talk about the diverse beauty. And I've seen this honestly in a lot of cinema from back in the day, whether that be Boomerang, Waiting to Exhale, The Best Man, and all different kind of movies, Soul Food. There's really diverse beauty in this movie, and it encompasses like blackness and our black folk. We are not a monolith, and as it pertains to beauty, we aren't either. We have different type of beauty standards. Let me not even say beauty standards. We all look different, but still beautiful and melanated, okay? So we got Nia Long, short hair, beautiful brown skin baddie. She's in the television business as a producer. That, you know, beauty. Then we have Monica Calhoun, who's the good girl, wearing her like all white, being all like cutesy with her silk press and whatnot, representing that. We have Shelby, the weave hair, glasses, leather wearing, you know, biracial-esque looking baddie. And then we have Candace, who's played by Regina Hall, beautiful, long hair, brown skin, thin baddie. With the guys, we have the gorgeous Chocolate, Morris Chestnut, who's the athlete. We have Q, who's the light-skinned, light-eyed, afro, eclectic, eccentric looking guy. We got Murch with his locks, beautiful chocolate man. Tay Diggs, the Harper, who's like the nerd a little bit with his glasses and his short hair. And I just love what they represent. When you look at black friendship groups, that's how we look, in the sense of like we all look different. And I just love them bringing that to screen, like our beauty in different forms, and that all of those beauties should be acknowledged. So I love that. I wanted to touch on Murch and the fact that he's a teacher, which is like so true and dear to my heart. I feel like I know a lot of males that work with children, especially at this big age, so I thought that that was extremely relatable. And just the film and what it represents is like depth and just questioning our morals, our integrity, our character, which if you know me, you know like I'm super into the human condition and fascinated by it. And I love that Malcolm D. Lee, whatever Malcolm, he touched on that in the most beautiful way. If you've seen The Best Man, get in the chat down below, comment, let us know what scenes are your favorite. Also, let me know what movies you'd be interested in me covering from back in the day. I think I'm gonna do a Waiting to Exhale situation at one point or another. But yeah, I love this film and what it represents. And I'm not trying to judge the characters harshly, because I too am a flawed adult, and I, you know, connect with other flawed adults. But it's just things that I feel like we should question so that we can do better and show the next generation better. You know what I mean? Like, we know now what our flaws have done to other people and how they've impacted people or impacted our own lives. So when you know better, you can do better, and then you can teach others to do better as well. So thank you so much for this beautiful film, Malcolm. It is amazing, and it'll always be so dear to my heart, and it's definitely one of my favorite films of all time. Thank y'all so much for tuning in, and have a great day.